The country known as France has rich history, from Napoleon Bonaparte, the French Revolution, to its two roles in both world wars. It's made up of famous landmarks such as the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame Cathedral, and the Triumphal Arch. Their medieval cities, villages, and Mediterranean beaches have one of the most beautiful sceneries in Western Europe, not to also mention their renowned wines and sophisticated cuisines. Although those are amazing and fantastic things, the country is also known to have performed some of the most cruel and evil torture methods during the Middle Ages. With its long history of bloody wars and executions, the ruling people had to figure out a way to bury all of the dead corpses. One city in particular was beginning to have this problem over time. In my first ever documentary, we will be going in great depth to the history and eerie place that is the Catacombs of Paris, located beneath the administrative district of Petit-Montrouge, as well as found footage of a man who was supposedly lost in the tunnels. Over the centuries, France has become an important role in the history of Europe and the world. From the colonization of the Americas, their aid during the American Revolutionary War, the Age of Enlightenment, to the French Revolution. However, they eventually ran into a major problem. By the 17th century, enough people had lived and died in Paris that its cemeteries were overflowing, overstuffed with graves to the point when corpses, at times, became uncovered. The Holy Innocents Cemetery, or Les Innocents, was a defunct cemetery in Paris, which was used during the Middle Ages up until the 18th century. It was the oldest and largest cemetery in Paris at that time. Les Innocents had begun as a cemetery with individual sepulchres, but by then had become a site for mass graves. People were buried together in the same pit. A pit could hold about 1,500 dead at a time. Only when it was full would another be opened. In the 14th and 15th centuries, citizens constructed arched structures called charniers, or charnel houses, along the cemetery walls to relieve the overcrowding of the mass graves. Bones from the graves were excavated and then deposited there. Those living in the Les Halles neighborhood, near Les Innocents, were among the first to complain, reporting the cemetery exuded a strong smell of decomposing flesh. Even perfume stores claimed they couldn't do business because of the off-putting smell. In 1763, Louis XV issued an edict banning all burials from occurring inside the capital. But because of the church pushback, which didn't want cemeteries disturbed or moved, nothing else was done. Louis XVI, Louis XV's successor, continued the crusade, also proclaiming that all cemeteries should be moved outside of Paris. It wasn't until 1780, however, that anything was done. That year, a prolonged period of spring rain caused the wall around Les Innocents to collapse, spilling rotting corpses into a neighboring property. The city needed a better place to put its dead. So it went to the tunnels, moving bones from the cemeteries 5 stories underground into Paris's former quarries. Cemeteries began to be emptied in 1786, beginning with Les Innocents. It took the city 12 years to move all of the bones, from bodies numbering between 6 and 7 million, into the catacombs. Some of the bones date back as far as the Merovingian era, more than 1,200 years ago. Bodies were exhumed, and many of them had incompletely decomposed and had reduced into large deposits of fat, or corpse wax, in the form of palmitic acid. During the exhumation, this fat was collected and subsequently turned into candles and soap. In the beginning of the French Revolution, most of the dead were buried directly into the catacombs ossuaries. The city then stopped moving bones into the ossuaries in 1860. The catacombs became a popular attraction for royal families and the people of importance, and in 1867, the area was open to the general public. While the remains of 6 million people are scattered throughout the tunnels, it's estimated that there are around 320 kilometers or 200 miles of tunnels. Not all of them have been mapped, and the rest is uncharted territory. seeing as the existence of the catacombs was common knowledge during World War II, as well as the fact that they span so many miles on the ground. It's not a surprise that they were also used for war. What may surprise you is that they were used by both sides. Members of the French resistance were actively using the underground tunnel system to hide out during the war and plan attacks against the Germans. The catacombs helped to ensure that they wouldn't be seen by German spies and would escape detection. What's more shocking is that the Nazis also had a presence within the catacombs and built various bunkers. Traces of a few bunkers still remain today. Now, just because there are millions of spooky skeletons there, doesn't mean people will be respectful. In 2004, Parisian police were assigned to do a training exercise in a previously uncharted part of the catacombs beneath the Chaillot's palace. The police descended deeper into the tunnels and discovered a 500 square meter cavern with a fully equipped cinema. It included a giant cinema screen, projection equipment, chairs, and a handful of films, from classics to recent thrillers. Someone had turned this abandoned underground cavern into a secret theater. Aside from this, in the next room, police discovered a fully stocked bar and restaurant, complete with tables and chairs. The discovery left police befuddled, not to mention the professional installation of electricity and 3 phone lines. 3 days later, police returned with experts from the French Board of Electricity to try and figure out where the power was coming from. The cables had been cut, and a note lying on the floor read, "Do not try and find us." Aside from this, it has been reported that there are underground pools throughout the tunnels, and even medium to large-sized pockets of water that serve as swimming pools for cataphiles, which are urban explorers who illegally tour the mines of Paris. Some of these pools of water are large enough to allow cataphiles to scuba dive in them and explore farther below the ground. These often flooded and forgotten century-old tunnels have been an aquatic playground for more than 30 years. And this particular brave diver has explored hundreds of meters of unknown galleries. Here are a few cuts from this short film about these underwater tunnels.
This doesn't put off urban explorers, known locally as cataphiles, who frequent the site. One such example is that of plongeurs.
D'où allaient ces galeries. Donc j'ai commencé à plonger sous terre pour savoir quelles étaient ces galeries. Mes premières plongées sous terre ont eu lieu dans le 13e arrondissement en 1987 et j'ai exploré 2 réseaux pour à peu près 500 mètres de galeries complètement inconnues dont j'ai fait la topographie et qui aujourd'hui est connue par l'inspection générale des carrières.
Lo, death has reared himself a throne in a strange city, lying alone far down within the dim west, where the good and the bad and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. Their shrines and palaces and towers, time-eaten towers that tremble not, resemble nothing that is ours. Around, by lifting winds forgot, resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie.
While it is not recommended and permitted to seek these underground oases, many have still gone to host pool parties during heat waves in the summer. Although this is a tourist attraction, a few have managed to get lost within the endless tunnels. The following video is a supposed man who had gotten lost in the tunnels. As he is walking and adventuring on, he then sees something that scares him, and so he starts running. This continues until he drops the camera and is not seen again. Security of the catacombs supposedly found this lost camera and its footage sometime later.
It's very bizarre. These arrows point in a direction. Occasionally also, he stops to photograph roomfuls of bones, which means that he's very, very deep inside the catacombs. So basically, he's filming what he's seeing very deep inside the catacombs, other than the point of view shots or pictures of human bones. The catacombs for centuries. So it is possible with these paintings that we may be able to retrace his itinerary to some extent. After about 4, we hear his breathing get louder and louder, as though something was scaring him. He's frightened, he's frightened. Occasionally he stops, perhaps to try to decide which way to run among all the many different corridors. He's running faster and faster and faster, deeper and deeper into the catacombs. And all of a sudden, we hear his breathing get louder and louder, as though something was scaring him. He's frightened, he's frightened. Occasionally he stops, perhaps to try to decide which way to run among all the many different corridors. He's running faster and faster and faster, deeper and deeper into the catacombs. And all of a sudden, this video camera
I hope you have enjoyed my first documentary, as this will be the first of many more to come. I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, always seek the unknown. Peace.